You know, one of the best news ever finally came out. SBF, or also known as Sam Bankman-Fried, has gotten arrested. You know, I feel like it took way too long for them to finally arrest him. It is finally done. He's about to pay for what he did. And so, for those of you who do not know who this snake of a person is, this guy was the founder of FTX, which is a crypto trading platform where this guy lost all of his investors' money. So the sad thing about it was the investors who put their money into it, where they signed documents saying that their money wasn't going to be used for any type of trading. So essentially what he did was this. So he commingled the funds of the investors. So you had a certain amount of investors where they would put their money into something where they'll be doing something called marginal trading, which is a very, very risky type of trading to do. So you have that group right there that was doing that. You have a separate group who just put their money into it and just wanted to hold their money into it. And they signed documents saying that their home won't be used for any type of trading. But what happened was SBF commingled the funds, right? And it got to the point where people, this was marginal traders, and this was people who just had their money just left into the account that weren't going to do anything to it. People were just getting money out. And so you can see what the problem is with that. People who are marginally trading, their money was used for that, were taking money out. And they were taking the people who had their money in there that weren't going to lose any money. They were taking their money. And so it got to the point where there was no more money in there. And you can see what the problem is with that. You had people who wanted to get their money out, and FTX all of a sudden had no money. And so obviously this shithole was saying things about he had no idea that the funds were commingled. He always blamed Alameda, and he always tried to find a way to divert the blame on him. First of all, this is your company, right? You should know what's going on with your company. And the fact that you're trying to deflect the blame, saying you had no idea this and that were going on in your company, is really ridiculous, right? And so if you could just watch the interviews that he was doing, he sounds like an idiot, a complete idiot, right? Watch the CoffeeZilla, watch the NBC ones. You could just tell this guy was a snake, right? And now he finally got arrested, and now justice is about to be served. So we are going to watch this great video and see what's going on.
Breaking news, as we were recording this video, Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO of FTX, has been arrested.
Yes.
Police in the Bahamas arrested FTX founder SBF in anticipation of an extradition request after U.S. officials filed criminal charges, the country's attorney general said.
The current CEO of FTX, John Ray, and ousted CEO Sam Bankman-Fried are expected to testify in front of the House tomorrow.
The House Financial Services Committee confirmed that the former FTX CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, and the current FTX CEO, John J. Ray III, will both be attending and testifying what Congress is calling investigating the collapse of FTX Part 1, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday. As is standard, at least on John J. Ray's side, the current FTX CEO, he released his statement 24 hours in advance. He says, while many things are unknown at this stage and many questions remain, we know the following 6 things. First, second, third, fourth, 5, 6. I'm going to take you through it 24 hours in advance in today's video. We're going to talk about what SBF is likely to say based on what he has been saying and how he's getting trained.
I wasn't even trying. I wasn't spending any time or effort trying to manage risk.
First of all, I really want to know who's his training coach. They obviously deserve an F. If he was paying them, he needs his money back. Because the things that SBF was saying is ridiculous. He had really no response to a lot of things. He just looked completely stupid, right? And the fact that it sucks that people lost billions of dollars because this idiot was handling the money. He knew exactly what he was doing because he's a snake.
On FTX trying
Also, we're going to get some insight on the former SEC chair Jay Clayton and how he thinks, based on his experience heading the SEC, what he thinks is likely to go down. So John J. Ray, the current FTX CEO, is going to be Congress's first panelist tomorrow, followed by Sam Bankman-Fried. So let's start with what John J. Ray is likely to say. First of all, remember when John J. Ray III mentioned that FTX had no accounts on their payroll? This is true and will likely come up in the hearings tomorrow. Excerpt from FTX's Section 11 bankruptcy filing that states that there were no in-house accounting. Not to mention that Sam Bankman-Fried explained to Bloomberg Business recently that FTX's accounting was done by him. In his head, quote, I was real lazy about the mental math.
Oh my
We'll talk
gosh.
about this strategy a little bit later. In addition, there are
Horrible.
6 main points as a part of John J. Ray's
That's a
statement
recipe for
tomorrow.
disaster
Let's
right
just
there.
go through them. It begins, while many things are unknown at this stage and many questions remain, we know the following. And many experts in the industry are saying that's curtains for Sam Bankman-Fried. John J. Ray testifies tomorrow with these 6 points. Sam will be utterly hamstrung.
Oh, he's going to be toast.
So, what are the 6 bombshells
going
that
to be
current
toast.
FTX CEO John J. Ray is going to bring up in his prepared statement for tomorrow's hearing? This is it. Number 1, customer assets from FTX were commingled with assets from Alameda Trading Platform.
We already knew.
Number 2, Alameda used client funds to engage in margin trading, which exposed customer funds to massive losses. Number
We
3,
knew that.
the FTX group went on a spending binge in late 2021 through 2022, during which approximately $5 billion was spent buying a myriad of businesses and investments, many of which may be worth only a fraction of what was paid for them. Number 4, loans and other payments were made to insiders in excess of $1 billion. Number 5, FTX stored certain private keys to crypto assets without effective security controls. And number 6, FTX used computer infrastructure that gave senior management access to systems that stored customer assets. Again, many people are looking at this and thinking this might be curtains for Sam Bankman-Fried.
Oh, yeah,
Breaking
he
news,
is toast.
As we were recording
He
this
is
video,
toast.
Sam Bankman-Fried, CEO of FTX, has been arrested. Police in the
Woohoo!
Bahamas arrested FTX founder SBF in anticipation of an extradition request after U.S. officials filed criminal charges, the country's attorney general said. Very important to follow us on Twitter, so
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile. With a holiday offer, I think that you're gonna like. When you switch to
you'll get this information immediately. Assuming that he'll still be able to zoom in to the hearing tomorrow, let's talk about how SBF is likely to respond.
I wonder if this is going to be televised.
Let's go to not just an attorney, not just a man of the law, Jay Clayton, but the former SEC chair.
This
before
has to be
Gary
televised,
Gensler.
huh?
If anybody has some insight to share on this, it's this man. If you're a subscriber to our channel, I know you are way more informed than most people on Sam Bankman-Fried's very precise strategy, right or wrong, on how he's choosing to deal with answering to FTX fraud. We've seen him
Oh, he's
absolutely
horrible.
squirm when
Yeah.
pressed on stealing FTX customer funds.
He can't
If
answer.
Alameda is borrowing the money.
Oh, I
that
like this
belongs
interview. This
to FTX
man
depositors,
froze him.
That's a bright red line, isn't it?
there are a lot of cases where that's actually explicitly part of the programs and that are
But
happening.
not
and people
here.
are
Here it
already-
says that the digital assets may not be loaned to FTX trading. They can't be loaned out.
Like, he doesn't know what to
Question
say.
for Jay Clayton is, do you think that Sam Bankman-Fried will change his tune, change the way he answers questions
Probably.
now that he is answering in a congressional hearing?
Yeah.
Is this going to be
He's got to come clean.
different when he's testifying
He has to.
actually before Congress? Will there be more I don't recalls instead of more I didn't didn't know I was doing anything wrong? I mean, he's got to tell the absolute truth now, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I think there'll be more of the same, but then there'll be more, Joe. There's a lot going on in these congressional hearings. People will be trying to get to the bottom of what happened Did it happen because
That's
it was
true.
offshore? Would it have happened
He's
in
going
the
to
US?
say
But then there's a lot
more.
The
I don't know.
Members of Congress are not constrained in what they're able to ask.
Oh, he's probably going to plead the fifth.
It was Andrew. Were you Andrew? I don't think you were concerned.
Nope.
But if somebody asks Sam Bankman-Fried if he knowingly commingled customer funds at FTX, like he's been asked so many times, Jay Clayton, what do you think he's going to say?
If someone says, did you knowingly commingle customer funds with Alameda? What did he say to you when you asked him that? He's like, it was like nebulous.
FTX trading does not represent or treat digital assets and users' accounts as belonging to FTX trading. So how is it possible that Alameda had this loan of such a large size?
So there's that piece from the terms of service, but there were a number of other parts of the terms of service and a number of other parts of the platform on top of that. There is the borrow lending facility.
But just make this very straight. Was there commingling of funds? That's what it appears like. It appears like there's been a genuine commingling of the funds that are
You
FTX
knew,
customers
SBF.
that were not supposed to be
Stop
commingled
capping.
with your separate firm.
I didn't knowingly commingle funds.
If someone says, did you knowingly commingle customer funds with Alameda? What did he say to you when you asked him that? He's like, it was like nebulous the way doesn't he have to give a more?
He didn't give we didn't get to a yes or no.
That's what I
He
mean.
never
So does he
intended
do it? I don't recall now. What does he do? I know people do. I don't recall again and again and again.
You know, I think one of the reasons this is going to be so interesting and why we're talking about today is we will see. We'll see how he handles those questions under that kind of pressure. One of the things that makes you a good witness in front of Congress is whether you're coming off as authentic or not. And that is actually a very important part.
Well, him
of
always
preparing for
saying he
these
doesn't
types of
recall
hearings.
him
So that's
being
a
around the
really important
bush. It's
thing that
just
everybody's going to be
showing he's not
watching for tomorrow.
authentic.
Do you think that Sam Bankman-Fried will come across as genuine and authentic?
Absolutely
in tomorrow's
not.
hearing?
Absolutely not.
Do you think SBF has come across authentic thus far?
To my knowledge, I have basically nothing left. Basically everything I had was invested in the business. I expect I'm gonna have nothing at the end of this. I think I had $100,000 left in my bank account last I checked, and I think I have, one credit card working with that right now.
Earlier this summer, you thought you had, what, 32 billion?
Probably 20, but a whole lot more than I do now.
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah, it's been a really humbling fall in a lot of ways.
I really liked this question. that
Humbling.
CNBC
Humbling. Look how many people's money you've lost. And that's just a humbling lesson for you.
asked Jay Clayton. She says, so if SBF lies to Congress, if SBF perjures himself,
Oh, he's going.
what happens? Because
He's going to be even more toast. He's going to be.
If he perjures himself in
Dunzo.
front of them, what happens?
He's
Well,
done.
I mean,
he's already
perjury
done.
is
I mean,
perjury, and you're not.
That's why I don't recall. It's going to be more than no, I didn't do anything.
I am sure that he is preparing
How do you think
thoroughly and going through a fair amount of what is referred to as murder boarding, Q&A. What how would you respond to this? That's a big part of preparing for a hearing like this.
so very likely that SBF is preparing hard to answer Congress's questions in a very specific way. And he's been doing this the whole time. SBF's been trying to paint this narrative that he was just so dumb and ignorant and had no malicious intent. You remember this?
That you said one of your great talents in a podcast was managing risk.
That's right, and
Well, it's obviously wrong.
well, I think that
Obviously.
there's something maybe even deeper wrong there, which was I wasn't even trying. Like, I wasn't spending any time or effort trying to manage risk on FTX. And that obviously
That's
that
a
was
stunning
mistake.
admission.
What?
That's a pretty stunning admission.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, what happened. Honestly, if I look back on myself, I think I got a little cocky, maybe more than a little bit. And I think part of me, felt like we'd made it.
he flew too high to
About
the sun.
distinction
His
between
wings melted.
Civil negligence and criminality in the context of what we think has happened here.
Well, look, the interesting part about the law is it's very complicated around someone's mental state. Is your mental state just, lack of paying attention? That's I would say the vernacular way to say negligence. Is it, you had an obligation to pay attention. There were all sorts of signs that you should be paying attention and you ignored them, recklessness? Or do you have some kind of intent that you were like, for example, I need that money. It's not my money,
Premeditated.
but I'm going to consciously transfer it to my account. Those levels go to level of culpability, different responsibilities at law. I mean, we actually have an amazingly flexible and nuanced legal system around situations
From what
like
you've
this.
seen thus far, maybe unfair to prejudge given that we don't have all the facts. What do you think?
Look,
I think he goes to jail for
obviously a great deal of
many
bad behavior
years
that we would think was bad behavior. From our perspective as to how you run a financial institution in the United States, but also from a general perspective in how you handle any business.
But what about the idea that some of these laws that we have here around securities and all sorts of other things that might otherwise, things that maybe happened would have constituted fraud or worse here, wouldn't there?
Well, let me say this. We have an incredibly well-developed and rigorous legal system around securities markets, securities issuance, securities trading, all of those things. But its basis is in the common law. And outside the United States, there is still a fair amount of common law built around fraud and the like. What does our securities law system do? It creates processes, requirements, transparency, inspection that makes it much easier to detect fraud and prevent fraud. So, I'm not saying that around the world fraudulent activity isn't policed. We just have what I would say is an incredibly rigorous system for deterring it, detecting it, and when it exists, punishing it.
Subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter.
All right, guys. So I am actually interested on your thoughts about this situation. What do you guys think will happen? What do you think this guy deserves? Me personally, I think he definitely deserves jail time. He deserves a fine. He deserves everything that's going to get hit his way. Justice is almost going to be served. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to bring back these people's money that was lost. But hopefully this man gets put behind bars and hopefully he learns from his mistakes because what he did was absolutely wrong. I don't think he'll ever find a way out of this. There's no coming back from this in his eyes and just in the public eyes as well. Like he's done trying to start any business or anything like that. This man is just straight toast. But other than that, I can't wait to see what's going to be going on. I am going to be keeping up with this. I'm going to give you guys updates on everything. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again later.